from today, right? Okay, now, having said that, let me tell you what is the agenda for a day today. Now, as I told you, this is the first official session where we'll be talking something technical related with blockchain. So we can call it as getting started with blockchain. And we'll be covering few points like why do we need blockchain? What is importance of blockchain, different benefits and features of blockchain. Then we'll talk about the history roadmap of blockchain, and we'll talk a little bit more about what is Bitcoin, how the Bitcoin is evolved into industry and how it became famous, kind of that stuff. And then we'll go slowly to the important aspects about what is blockchain, and then inside a blockchain, what do you exactly mean by a block and its structure of a block, and how blockchain works. Different types of the blockchains we'll be discussing and how they differ with each other, and what are few of the examples of the different types of the blockchains. And today we are going to also talk about one more important concept, which is called as a consensus. Okay, we'll talk about few things related with consensus, and detailing of that again will go into a case-to-case basis. And at the end of the session, we'll be discussing few of the use cases that we'll be doing together, that what can be use cases where we can use blockchain as a implementation so as to solve some business problem. So this is what the agenda for a day. So I would like to call Naveen to take this ahead and begin the session with the basics of blockchain. Over to you, Naveen.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Mandar. It's just that I lost my internet connection in between. That's very weird. So I was going live on YouTube. I just want to make sure that we are live, as this is the first session, which is going to be live on YouTube. Okay. Okay. So everyone, just to let you know that we are live on YouTube as well, not the main channel, but there's a channel which is called Telesco Live. This is where we are going to live every day. In fact, may not be live, but will be recording session, and then we can remove the fun part from that recording. Okay. So I'm also recording this session now. The recording will start now. Great. So it is your job, everyone, to let me know if the recording is not happening in any day. Okay, so that you can rewatch this. So first of all, thank you so much, Mandar, for the agenda setup. And one more thing, we can set the expectations from the Discord as well. So whenever you are communicating on Discord, make sure that you respect each other. Okay, don't use bad words. Also, no promotions. If you promote, you might be blocked. Okay, so don't say buy Bitcoin or anything like that. Otherwise, you'll be banned from the Discord group. And no other promotions. And what else?
Yeah. One more thing is that Discord channel is only for Bitcoin and maybe blockchain.
Sorry, blockchain.
If you have any other technical questions, maybe there is a general channel available of Naveen. Telescope channel is available, I guess, where you can ask the questions related with maybe some other technology if you're interested in.
Yeah. Awesome. So I can see a lot of people have joined. We can start with the session. It's already getting recorded, and let me share my screen. It's just that, since it is going live on YouTube, everything I open on my machine should be something I don't want to rebuild. So, okay, cool. So let's get started. So today we want to start with the basics of blockchain. So even if you know blockchain controller emotions, we will have a discussion after 1 hour. So from 11 to 11:30, we'll be having a common discussion. Till that point, we can have we can talk about the content. So let me start this slide. So Mandar, I'm making the host. In case if somebody is coming, you can just allow them.
Yeah, sure.
So you're the host. Nice. Okay, can you just enable the screen sharing, because now I'm not the host.
Okay. Here I go. You can share the screen now, Naveen. I enabled it.
Great. You. And now here we go. Just a second. I'm in my screen. Should I share my entire desktop? Okay, let me do that. Okay, not a big fan of PPTs, but unfortunately, to understand theory, if I keep talking for 1 hour, it will not make any sense. So let me just start with some slides. Okay, so the topic for today is getting started with blockchain. So this is the first time we are making a content for blockchain. So be with us, even if we go in the wrong flow. Okay, so first of all, why blockchain? I mean, why do we even need a new technology? We had enough with the new technologies, right? I remember 2014, when everything was getting saturated in the market. I was looking for something new, and at that point, 2014, something was getting very famous called big data, right? And everyone was saying, "Hey, let's learn big data and let's get a job." And then things changed, right? After every new 1 or 2 years, we're getting new technologies. The same question arises, right? Whenever you have a new technology, why you need that technology? See, IoT makes sense because in future, all these devices will be interconnected. AI makes sense because you don't want to drive your own car anymore. Of course, I want to drive my own car. Driving your own car makes a difference, right? But anyway, we are looking for driverless cars. We are looking for automation. So AI makes sense. Why blockchain makes sense is because of this thing. What's the need of blockchain? The first one is something happened in 2008, the financial crisis, right? See, from a long time, in fact, I'm not talking about the old age where we used to have Stone Age. I'm not even talking about the barter system. Let's come back to the monetary system which we are using. Different countries have different, currencies, right? In US, we have USD. In India, we have INR. In different countries, we have different currencies. So the problem is, who is controlling these currencies? Of course, the main thing here is a bank, right? So whenever you want to deposit your money, you go to a bank, you deposit your money. Whenever you want to withdraw, you go to the bank and you withdraw. Recently, I remember, I normally don't go to bank, but 2 months back, I went to bank to withdraw around 20,000 rupees because the nearby ATM was not working. So I was supposed to go to bank, which was next to it. And luckily, I had a checkbook with me. I was in the queue for around 10 minutes to withdraw 20,000 rupees. And then at some point, I felt it's my money, which I want to withdraw from a bank, is depend upon the cashier if he's willing to give me the cash or not. What if there's a mistake in my sign, and I'm very bad with my signatures? I always make mistake, right? So basically, realize you don't have a power with you. When you deposit money to a bank has a power to do anything with your money. So they give out loans to anyone. You know a lot of cases, right? I don't have to talk about those cases. So bank says, hey, you want 5,000 crores? Here your money. And from where that money is coming from? From you, right? So again, we are dependent a lot on banks. The next thing is the trust. Do you think you can trust internet? Come on, you can talk. You can just use your chat and let me know. Do you really, do you think you can trust anyone on the internet? Of course not, right? You can't trust anyone on the internet. It's not just about a person, it's also about the service. You can't trust a service on the internet. And that's why we have all these firewalls, antiviruses, right? So we use all those systems. But if you really believe, if you go back to 1960s when internet came into picture, it was built on trust. And now we don't trust internet anymore. So basically we want to build that trust again. And the third thing is, who owns your data? So actually there are multiple issues, but then my concern is this three. I don't want bank in between to do all the transactions. Second, we want to trust. You want to build that trust again. And the third one is the data. Who will own your data? Now, if you currently think about all the thing happening in the industry or in the world around data, who owns your data? Think about Facebook, think about Google. Whenever you push a photo on Facebook, Facebook has all the power to see that data, to store that data, right? So you don't own that data. Facebook owns that data. Of course, you have a permission to delete that data, but maybe Facebook still has that data with them. But yes, after GDPR, which is the European new policy, it is, you can claim to delete your data permanently, but come on, we are Indians, right? We don't believe in privacy. So basically, we want to own our own data. That's the point we want to take here. Example, let's say, in 2019, just before the lockdown, I was supposed to go to Malaysia for a talk in December. And in November end, I met with an accident. Okay, so everything was ready. My ticket was ready. My visa was ready. I went there, but then what happened is on around 20 November last year, or 2019, I met with a small accident. I fell off from a bike, and then I went to the nearest hospital. And the question the doctor was asking is, I was a bit unconscious, and doctor was asking me, do you have any medical issues? Or do you have a diabetic? Do you have a blood pressure? Come on, I was a bit unconscious. What do you think? Even if I say no, I don't have any diabetic, I don't have diabetes. And what if I had diabetes? What if the medicine could have reacted? But what if I say my family doctor has all the data about myself? Can't they share? Unfortunately, if you look in the current technology, they can't. And also, my family doctor own my data. So we want to come out of that zone. So these are the three needs which I feel. But also, there are some benefits. Of course, we have not talked about blockchain yet, but think about this. If you can build a system which is decentralized, now you're thinking why we need something called decentralized when you have everything working. See, whatever system you are using now, Facebook, Google, they all are centralized. Someone is owning it, someone is controlling it. Let's understand this. There are two different things. One is distributed systems and one is centralized systems. Okay. See, centralized system means, you can imagine the network design, right? Everyone, we have multiple nodes, we have multiple people. Example, let's say what's happening now is centralized. So I'm giving you service, you all are accepting the services. After 11 o'clock, we'll be having a distributed networking, right? Everyone will talk, everyone will share data to each other directly. You don't need me in between to share data. Example, let's say if Omkar want to talk to Raju, who is already feeling sleepy, in that case, Omkar can directly talk to Raju, right? Omkar don't need me in between to talk to Raju. But then still, if you really think about Facebook, yes, it is distributed, but everything is happening through the central software. Even if you have multiple Facebook servers, everything is still controlled by Facebook. We don't want that. If I want to talk to anyone here, I should not be using Facebook server to communicate because that Facebook will own my data then. Next is transparency and trust. Of course, we want to build a trust on the internet, right? If you want to buy something online, you don't buy it from any website. You buy from specific websites like Amazon or Flipkart. What if I say in future, there's a new website called navin.com and you can buy new mobile phones. I will give you 40% off. Will you buy from my website? Of course not. There's no trust. Even if I give you huge discount, there's no trust. That's what we want to remove, because if we don't have a trust, only big companies will make a market. Why Amazon, Flipkart is winning? Because they have built trust. Even if I'm giving you best service, you don't know who I am because you don't have a trust, right? So we want to build that trust. Again, how we'll see that later. Next, transparency. Whatever food you consume now, do you really think that is not duplicate? Of course, every time I drink milk, I doubt on that milk, right? Because I've seen so many videos on YouTube. So all the counterfeited products are also there. What if you can see the actual timeline of a product coming from the manufacturer to the example. Let's say if you buy an iPhone on Flipkart, sometime you might receive a soap. Do you really think Flipkart is doing that? No, right? It's not Flipkart. It's people who in between, maybe warehouse employees or the delivery guy, they are changing it. So what if you can actually track the product from the manufacturer to the customer? That's the transparency we need. And also something which is immutable. So you can have trust only when you know something is immutable. Example, let's say if I show you a certificate now, or maybe if I generally say, I'm the world best cricketer. Will you believe me if I just put that statement? No, right? Of course, you will not believe me if I say I'm the world best cricketer. But what if I can prove myself. What if I was playing for a county and then I was winning all the games? And that too on a paper which is immutable, maybe with ICC. So you need that proof, right, which is immutable. Of course, the data in ICC can also be changed, but we still trust them. So if you can build a database which no one can change, that's where the trust will build. Next is high availability. Of course, if you talk about all the services now, like Amazon, the cloud services, right? Amazon Cloud Service, Google Cloud Service, they provide you 99.9% uptime. But again, you have to pay a huge fees for that. Next, highly secure. We want something which is secure, which has security inbuilt. It's not like you're building a software, then you're providing security. We're talking about inbuilt security, something which is fast and something which is scalable. And all this feature is given by blockchain. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. So now we know what's a need and what are the features a blockchain can provide. But again, the same question remains, right? What is blockchain? Okay, look, we'll come to that. But before that, I always believe whenever you learn a new technology, the first thing you should check is the history. Because if you know the history and if you can see the present situation, you can predict the future, right? I was not a big fan of history in my childhood. I used to hate that subject, history. The question मेरे mind में आता था, पढ़ना क्यों है, right? I mean, why you have to learn something which has already happened? But then I later realized, when you learn the history, you'll understand how do you solve the current problems. And you can predict the future, what is going to happen. But again, let's go with the history. So even before I start with this, I have a question for everyone. So you can use a chat window to answer this. And the question is, in which year blockchain was launched? Or when was the inception of blockchain? Okay. Mixed answers. Someone says 2008. Praveen says 1960. Okay. So with the internet, blockchain came into existence. That's what you're saying. Okay. Sandeep says 2007, maybe. Omkar says 2009. Okay, so most of you are saying around 2009, right? Okay, but let's see the answer. The inception of blockchain as a term, blockchain, or may not be term, but the concept actually came in 1991. Okay, but it was not blockchain per se, but all this technology has some start, and the start for blockchain happened in 1991. But the thing which we see is actually with Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin was introduced as a paper in 2008. And I would highly recommend everyone who is new to the to blockchain world to read this paper. Okay, so let me just get this paper. Oh, it's not clickable, is it? Anyway, so use this link and open this paper and read it. Okay, this will be your assignment. Okay, but the actual network was launched in 2009. Okay, so the concept was the Bitcoin paper came in 2008, but the network was launched in 2009, and the first Bitcoin transaction happened in 2010. So if you want to know the story, just go to Google and search for the Bitcoin pizza story. So someone was holding a lot of Bitcoins around. I mean, it was a lot of Bitcoins, and then he bought the first pizza. I forgot the number of Bitcoins he spent for one pizza. Around 10,000? Not sure. Can you imagine if you spend 10,000 Bitcoins for one pizza in 2010? And now the Bitcoin price is what? Any guess what's the Bitcoin price?
50 lakh approx.
Yeah, approximately 50 lakhs, right? So you can multiply the 10,000. Okay, doesn't matter. It's a big amount. So that was the first transaction, right? But the Bitcoin price is going up day in, day out, right? In fact, in 2017, the Bitcoin price was 17 lakhs. 17 lakhs, yeah. And then after that, in 2020 or 2019, it was somewhere around 10 lakhs again. But now it's gone up. Okay, so with that Bitcoin, in fact, I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin. When few months back, one of my friend's father asked me, what you're doing nowadays. I was like, I'm exploring blockchain. And he was like, oh, that's illegal, right? Why are you doing illegal stuff? So people do get confused between blockchain and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a currency. It's not illegal, but it's not a legal tender. That it's English is very confusing, right? So Bitcoin is not illegal. Example, let's say if you hold Bitcoin, no one will put you in jail. It's just that it is not a legal tender. And there are two different things. So Bitcoin is not illegal, but then I'm not a big fan of cryptocurrencies. I'm a big fan of the technology behind Bitcoin, which is blockchain, right? So again, we'll see some more history. So we have a timeline here. So how it all started. A lot of people do say that these are new technologies. Do you really think blockchain is new? I feel blockchain is like biryani. So they took all the best features from all the history, they mixed it up, and they made a new technology called blockchain. So it all started in 1960s with a concept called computer network. And then we got the first official network, which is ARPANET in 1969. And at that point, the internet was very, what do you say? It's a luxurious thing, right? Not everyone was having internet. It's like having a Ferrari. Not everyone has it. In the same way, if you have the ARPANET network connected, I guess ARPANET was not for everyone. The first official network was what? Milnet? Let me know in the chat window if you know the first official public network. Okay, are you replying in Discord? Unfortunately, I don't have the access now. So Mandar, if you can also open Discord, let me know. Okay. Okay, then in 1970s, something came, which is cryptographic hash functions. Of course, we'll have a separate session on cryptography, but that's how the timeline went, right? So cryptography got famous because of hash functions. Now, cryptography is not new, but then including that into systems, computer systems was something new. Now, when we have cryptography, we got something more. We got PKI, the public key infrastructure. Public keys, private keys. Again, these are the prerequisites for blockchain. So if you get in fact, we'll be talking about this in the upcoming sessions. But if you get enough time, do read about PKI. It's public key infrastructure. And then somewhere in 1979, we got Mercury. Again, we'll see the importance of Mercury in the upcoming sessions. And then in 1980s, we got TCP/IP, which also lead us to the problem. In fact, it's not a new problem actually, but then they officially wrote a paper on it in 1982, the Byzantine's general problem. We'll talk about that as well. But this is very important in terms of blockchain. Okay, so if you really want to understand the concepts, why it is so much of hype, it's because of this Byzantine's general problem solution. And then in 1991, there was an early idea of tenor blocks. Then we got POW. Again, these are all concepts will be required for blockchain. So just remember these terms at least as of now. The Byzantine's general problem, then POW. Then in 1998, we got the first, not exactly cryptocurrency, but a currency which was running with crypto. So can we really say that's a cryptocurrency? But it was having a different concept. It was BitGold in 1998 by Nick Szabo. And I feel the paper written by Nick Szabo is very, very important for whatever we are doing now. Okay, so again, read those things about BitGold as well. And then something remarkable happened in 1999, Napster. You know what is Napster? Anyone? You can unmute yourself and you can talk about Napster. Come on. Okay, anyone who knows about Napster? Come on.
Napster is a set of 3 music-focused online services,
Okay,
which is the online music stream actually.
right. And who's the founder of Napster? What, Zuckerberg? Okay,
Zuckerberg
you're
was
close. You're
included, no, I
close.
guess.
No, he was not included. Maybe you have seen that movie Social Network.
Yeah.
The founder of Napster was there in Facebook, not vice versa. The founder of Napster is Sean Parker, and Sean Parker was there in Social Network
I guess Zuckerberg was CEO, I guess. of this.
of Facebook,
No,
not
no.
Napster. No. Zuckerberg was not included in Napster. Okay. And obviously there was no CEO of Napster as well. The founder was Sean Parker. Government just banned it. In fact, there's an awesome story, so there's a story, read that story about iTunes, why iTunes came into picture. So before Napster, music labels were charging a lot of money for those DVDs, right? But Napster says, hey, you can use music for free. You can share music for free. It's peer-to-peer. If I hold the music, I will give that music. You can enjoy the music. You can listen to it for free. So to stop that, the music industry went to Steve Jobs for solution. Because once Napster, in fact, government was able to ban Napster. They were stopping Napster. But once, as a public, once you get used to the free things, you don't want to buy any anymore. It's just like Geo plan. Now, once you got Geo for free, now we don't want to pay high amount of money for the network. And the same thing happened, right? No one was buying DVDs even after Napster was down. So music industry went to Apple, and then that's where they came up with iTunes. Right. So again, awesome story. You can read about it. And then in 2001, we got something which we all love, torrent. Right. So we download everything from torrent nowadays. We should not say that on YouTube, right? Okay, anyway. So that's where, all these things changed. Now, what is something important in these two things, Napster and BitTorrent, is a peer-to-peer networking, P2P, right? Venkatesh says Napster promoted piracy. That's right. And I hate piracy. But then they also introduced something very new. Sometimes, you have to break the rules to come up with some new technologies. But yeah, so they came up with P2P network, P2P sharing. It's not new, but then they really shown that it is possible, torrent as well. And then in 2009, we got Bitcoin. Now, who is the founder of Bitcoin? Anyone?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Not Satoshi. No,
Satoshi.
he's not. Yeah, Amajit is not Indian, not Satoshi. It's Satoshi. It's a Japanese name, maybe. So it's Satoshi Nakamoto. But yeah, no one knows he's a real person or a pseudo name, right? It may be group of people, and I believe it's a group of people because no one person can build a technology like blockchain and Bitcoin. It's an effort of multiple people. Now, the only problem is when they launched it, in order to make something famous, if you have a name behind it, people will be skeptical. Example, let's say if you know who is Satoshi Nakamoto, no one would have trusted.
He initiated that idea. That's why the smallest unit of the Bitcoin was given name as a Satoshi.
Satoshi, that's right. But do we really have? Yes.
Naveen sir. Actually, there is a story behind this Satoshi Nakamoto also. Satoshi Nakamoto he's been claimed like a group of Asian technology companies like Samsung for SA, Toshiba for To, Nakamichi and Motorola. These are the 4 companies that are tie up for bringing this Bitcoin into the market.
Okay.
So it is also one of the.
So this is the theory, right?
Yeah, fictitious story.
Okay. Yeah. Again, there are a lot of theories are there, but I believe it will be open source. I don't believe that there will be. I mean, it may be possible, but I believe it will not be group of companies. It might be the group of technologists who believe we need to change something in the market. Example, there are so many rebels in the technology world as well, right? So maybe they came up with this. Maybe possible. Any theory is possible, but yeah. Ultimately, we got a Bitcoin, and we trust Bitcoin because there's no one behind it. It's an open source protocol. I mean, anyone can see that. Anyone can see the working of it. And yeah. And Ravi Teja says, yes, like Linus Torvald. Right. Okay. And then with the help of Bitcoin, we got our first concept, which is blockchain. And the thing is, with the first Bitcoin paper, the word blockchain was not even there, right? It was more of a chain of blocks, but later on they went with the blockchain word. Okay. But that's one history, right? That's one thing. We need a cryptocurrency. But I have a different perspective. I don't want the world to be run by cryptocurrencies. It's good, but I believe the power which blockchain comes with is something different. Is this: we want the world to move towards Web 3.0. Because if you look at Web 1.0, somewhere around 1993, when internet was getting famous, do you remember, everyone, the dot-com bubble? The bubble burst, right? If you know, just say yes in the chat window. So come on, use your chat window, everyone.
I heard the .com bubble, but didn't know much.
Okay, so what happened is, somewhere around 1995 or 1993, the European stock market was going down. So they thought, it's time to create something. It's time to create a hype. At least people will put some money in the market, and let's also revolutionize the tech market. And that's where they started hyping about technology. But unfortunately, it was not the European market who took the advantage of it. It was US market. So what happened in US is they wanted to go up, and then every company thought, hey, let's have our own website, because it makes sense, right? Instead of sharing templates with everyone of the flyers for the advertisement, why can't we have a website? So if I have a product, and if you want to know about my product, you can just come to my website, and you can see what services we offer. And that's where, when every company wants their own website, we want people in the market, right? Nowadays, it's about blockchain developers, right? If you go to any company, they don't have blockchain developers. In fact, I was last week, I was the host of one of the blockchain event, and there were some employers who came there to hire people. And literally, I was talking to the head of department of different departments of big companies like Infosys, TCS, HCL, and they were looking for blockchain developers who know basics of blockchain. So can you see that importance of blockchain developers? Okay, not exactly basics of blockchain, basics of some framework, maybe Corda or Hyperledger, or at least they should be able to work on those technology, not an expert. At the same way, in 1993 or 4, every company was looking for people who can build a static page using simple tools like HTML. That's it. And the HTML designers were called as authors. In the initial days of web designing, they were called as authors, HTML authors. And then it was going on till 2004. But then something changed. As a consumer, as a user of the internet, we were only consuming data till 2004. Of course, we had some services like Yahoo Chat, we can actually interact with people. But somewhere in 2004, things started changing, right? Because after Facebook, Orkut, all this technology came into existence, where as a normal user, can you imagine, as a normal poor person, you can put something on the internet. You're not consuming now, you're pushing data. If you talk about the initial TV days, we were just consumer of TVs. But now we are Instagram influencers, right? Because we got a power now to push the content up. So as a normal user, you can read content on the internet and you can write the content. But the problem is, because of this read-write, we are putting our content up, the private data. And we are sharing that data with everyone. Right? So we are sharing the data with Facebook, we are sharing the data with Google. In fact, Google knows more about you than you know about yourself. Maybe, if you want to know after your graduation, should you go for job or should we go for PhD? Or sorry, should we go for master's? If you're getting confused, because I was confused when I completed my BSc IT, should I go for MSc in IT or should I go for job? I should have asked Google. Google know what I like. Google know what I want to do in my life, because they track everything about you. Right? So we don't want that. We want because they don't just store your data, they also share your data with other companies. They sell your data, which we don't want. 2 years back, I bought a phone just because I was talking to my friend that, we got this amazing OnePlus 8 phone. Looks good. Or OnePlus 7, I forgot 2 years back which phone was launched. I guess OnePlus 7. And I was talking to, the pop-up camera. Remember the pop-up camera phone? So I was talking to one of my friend verbally, and I was saying, "Kya mast phone hai OnePlus 7. Ek baar dekhna chahiye leke." And repeatedly, I was getting the advertisements of OnePlus 7 on every damn platform. Facebook, YouTube, everywhere I was going, I was getting the ads of OnePlus 7. And I bought it. This is how the company influences you. And I remember I have not even searched for that product. I saw the ad somewhere, maybe on TV. I was talking to my friend regarding it, and I started getting ads. So that's the power of the current Web 2.0. They can use your data, they can sell your data, they can even influence you. Remember, right? When in US, Donald Trump won the elections. So there's a conspiracy that because of Facebook, people voted for Donald Trump. Again, no one knows. Yeah, that's right. The Cambridge Analytica. So we don't want that. We don't want to share our data with the big companies. And that's where blockchain can help us. And that is Web 3.0. Metaverse coming up. Okay. Okay, now after doing all those discussion, it's time to talk about what is blockchain actually. Okay, so peer-to-peer. So first of all, blockchain is not new. Just understand the first 3 terms here. The first term here is peer-to-peer network. But so what is peer-to-peer? Example, let's say what we are doing now is where we are talking to. Example, let's say if I say, "Hey Rajesh, nice scenery." So now I'm talking to Rajesh, but that is not peer-to-peer. It is still, I'm talking to Zoom server, Zoom is talking to Rajesh. That's how the data is flowing. But if I use a direct network here, even WhatsApp is not peer-to-peer. WhatsApp says 100%, what do you say, end-to-end encryption? I don't believe. But yeah, so if you say peer-to-peer, it means there's no server involved. So whatever we are doing now is client server. There's no server, there's a server involved, which is Zoom server. But in peer-to-peer, there's no server. It is direct client-to-client interaction. Or we don't even say client because we don't have a server. It's the peer-to-peer, the node-to-node interaction. The next thing is distributed ledger. So what is distributed ledger? Now to understand this, let's go back to the concept of currencies. So I have a question for whoever I can see on the screen. I can see Rajesh on the screen. So Rajesh, question to you.
Yes.
So the question is, why do we need a bank in between? Example, let's say if I send you some money, let's say 100 rupees, Rajesh.
Yes.
Do we need bank in between?
Actually, we don't need it.
Then why we send money through bank only? Why don't we find some other solution?
If we are holding the physical money, actually, that is notes, actually, then we can meet and we can transfer to each other. But
Yeah, good point, right? So if physically is possible, virtually is not possible.
yeah, when we are going for the virtually or the big amount and we want the security, then we are liable to bank. We are just transferring bank to bank. So they are holding our property. They are providing a security. That's another thing.
That's right. So in fact, in the chat as well, a lot of people are saying the same thing. It's about trust. We have a trusted third party here.
Yes.
Okay, Raviteja is raising a hand. Raviteja, you want to say something? Hey, hi Ravi, I can see your hand raised. Okay, so
Maybe
you can lower your hand.
by mistake, maybe.
Okay, right, possible. Yeah, so what I was saying is distributed ledger. Sorry, I was talking about trust, right? So there's a trust involved. So the problem is, Rajesh, I don't trust you, and that's why we need bank in between, right? Example, let's say if we don't have a bank in between, if I say, hey Rajesh, I'm giving you 100 rupees, and you have to give me the same amount back in 10 days. So what we can do is, after 10 days, if I come to you by saying, hey Rajesh, give me my money back, what you will say? Who are you? I don't know you. Possible, right? So we can do one thing, Rajesh. What we can do is, in my notebook, or maybe in your notebook, you can say 100 rupees. You can write 100 rupees, and I will give you a sign there. Will that work?
That sign can be fork, something like that.
Possible, but maybe I will give a fingerprint. Let's say that is not an issue. Sign is not an issue.
Yeah.
What about the amount? Amount can be an issue. So what if you change that amount from 100 to 200?
Yeah, it is possible. Then
It is
will be
possible.
okay.
How about this? What if on my notebook also, I will write 100 and I will take your sign. So now you have an entry, I have an entry. Does that work?
But there are multiple ways to malfunction actually, that proof actually.
That's right. What if I change it and then I will prove that this is the final amount? What if I say 50, what if I say 5,000? I have given you only 100 rupees. Okay, that's an issue, right?
Yes.
If 2 person are there, we have an issue. What if, let's also include Amarjit, Raviteja, Rucha, everyone. The moment we do a transaction, the moment I give you 100 rupees, let everyone who is on the chat here, let's update it. We can write 100 rupees, Navin to Rajesh, 100 rupees, sign. Everyone will have the same thing. In case if I make a change, now I am the malicious person here because everyone else have the same thing, right? So let's say we have, sorry, you're saying something, Rajesh.
Other will deny whatever I am going to say. Sure.
No, see, we have 10 people in the network, right?
Yes.
Only I am giving the wrong data. So everyone else have 100 rupees on that paper, on that book. Only I am saying 5,000. So
Always
now if you look at the majority says 100.
Yes, I have to correct myself actually.
No, I'm doing it. I'm a malicious node.
Okay.
I have given you 100, but I'm doing that malicious thing. I'm saying I have given you 5,000 rupees.
Okay,
right?
so you have to take your statement back because majority is.
Yeah, majority says 100.
Yeah.
So either you will say, hey, change your value or go out of the network.
Yes.
And I don't want to go out, right? I want to be social. I want to be involved with you people. So of course, I should not be malicious. But what if I was able to convince 6 people out of 10? Majority wins. Majority says 5,000, then you're on the losing side, Rajesh. Right? So that's one of the issue. But again, we were able to solve one issue. What if we have 1 million people on the network? Then we don't need a bank in between. Everything will be happening among the nodes. Even if you have one malicious node, you can kick it out. Yeah, if one malicious node was able to convince, okay, how many people we have? 1 million, right? So half of the network, then we are gone. That attack is called, as Shankar says, 51% attack, right? But again, let's not talk about blockchain now. Let's in general talk about this thing. If you have so many nodes on the network, and if you can build a network where all the data is distributed, it is called a distributed ledger. And there's a technology involved with it, which is called DLT. So DLT is actually a technology where all the nodes in the network will share the same data. So we are not yet towards blockchain. We are talking about the distributed ledger technology. So the moment I do a transaction with you, Rajesh, this data, this transaction will be recorded with everyone in the network. That's DLT. Okay. And then we also want something which is immutable. Now, if you combine all those things, when you combine peer-to-peer, when you combine distributed ledger technology and immutability, you get something called blockchain. Again, the word, why blockchain? That's a different thing. We'll talk about the word. But blockchain is a combination of all those things. So what is blockchain basically? Blockchain will help you to build a peer-to-peer network, and it's also a distributed ledger technology. So blockchain is DLT. So if I want to sum up that, all the blockchains in the world are DLTs, but not all DLTs are blockchain. You there with me, everyone? Okay, all blockchains, whatever blockchain technology you mentioned, Bitcoin, Hyperledger Fabric, they all are DLT, but not all DLTs are blockchain. Now, one of the DLT we have is Corda. So Corda is a framework or a private blockchain, which is not actually a blockchain. It's a DLT. Again, it will make much more sense later. Okay, now let's talk about Bitcoin itself to understand blockchain. So let's say we do a transaction. So Rajesh I'm doing a transaction. So what we can do is, in that, this one transaction will be part of one block. Okay, this is a block there. In one block, you can have multiple transactions. Now, why block? It's because we can sum up all the transactions, right? Let's say I am sending 100 rupees to Rajesh. Ravi is sending, let's say, 50 rupees to Rucha. And then I can only see those. And Mandaz is sending, let's say, 50 rupees to Sharmila. So we have all this transaction, right? It becomes a part of one block. And what is there in one transaction? So I'm not saying all transactions will have the same thing, but let's generalize it. Different transactions can have different data. So let's say we have a sender address, we have a receiver address, and we have an amount. So who is sender? Naveen. Who is receiver? Rajesh. What's the amount? 100 rupees. Does that make sense? So instead of using a book, Rajesh, what we can do is we can create a block. In that block, we can have multiple transactions. And since our transaction, Rajesh, so whatever data I'm sending to you is getting stored on all the nodes, right? If they are doing a transaction, it is our responsibility to store that data with us as well. So let's say when Amarjit is sending some money to Ravi Teja, in this case, that transaction will be stored on all the nodes. So by the way, who are nodes here? From a long time, I'm saying nodes. What are nodes?
Miners, every miners.
No.
No, that's an advanced term you're using, Amarjit. Don't read anything on internet.
Machines.
We have not talked about miners yet. Yeah, that's right. So those are normal machines. In fact, for this example, we are the nodes. I am node, you're a node, we all are nodes. But if you really want to represent a person on the internet, of course, you have to say node. Okay, so that's a computer on the internet. Cool. So this is one transaction which we have. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll have this transaction. So each block will have multiple transactions, right? And where are we going to store this transaction or this block? With everyone. Irrespective, in this transaction, in this block, you have your transaction or not, this transaction will be stored on your machine, okay, or with you. So the first step you have to do is, with this block, let's call this block as B1, and let's create a hash of a block. Now that's a new term, right? What is hash? Imagine your fingerprint. It's very unique to you. So no one in the world will have the same fingerprint. I'm not sure. I've just read about that. I'm not a biologist, but yeah, everyone will have a unique fingerprint, right? That's something we assume. In the same way, every data will have a different hash. Now the advantage is, let me show you some website. I just hope my mails are not open when I open the browser. Safari is a safe option, I feel. Good, there's no window open. So what I will do is I will say hash. So next time we'll put this in in the PPT itself. Let's see. Okay, so the advantage of hash is hash will always give you the same length output. Example, let's say if my input is n, look at the, okay, what's wrong? Look at the hash value. So let's talk about one of the algorithm, which is MD5. So this is the hash value of n. No, I wanted something which I can show here itself. Anyway, okay, should I use a different website? Tools for noobs, nice website. I want to use MD5, okay, and hash this. Okay, so this is the hash value for n, and this will be unique irrespective of, okay, Rucha says 256. Okay, let's use the advanced one, SHA-256. These are all hashing algorithms. Different algorithms have a different way of finding a hash value. So imagine a hash value by saying, take n and multiply that number by 25. I'm just saying, what is algorithm? Do something with the input and give a output. Okay, different algorithm have different operations. The other thing is, if I write Naveen Reddy and if I say hash this, you will get the same length. Oh, the length is changing because we have changed the algorithm. Yeah. So let me just change this to Naveen Reddy is a trainer. And if I run this, as you can see, I'm increasing the length of it, but there's no change in the length of the hash value. It will remain constant. Now, the awesome thing is, irrespective of the length of this, let me show you something. Let me go to Wikipedia and search about Java. And if I copy the entire text from here, so irrespective of what your length of the text length here, and if I go back and paste hash this, look at the output, the size will remain same. And the awesome thing is, even if you make one change, look at the hash concept, look at the hash, we have 0E. I hope the font is visible.
Yes.
Great. So look at the text here. Okay, say 0E07. Okay, there's some format, right? Let me change one simple thing here. Let me remove this comma. Can you see that there's a comma there after Jakarta? I'm removing the comma and saying hash this. A small change in the entire text will give you a very different hash value. So the idea is no one should be able to guess the input based on the hash value. And if you make even a small change, it will give a very different hash value. Does it make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Awesome. So let me go back to the power. Okay. So let's say we have this one block, and this one block, we have a hash of it. How do we find a hash? It's very simple. Just copy all the transaction, go to the website, paste that transaction, and say calculate hash. Okay, no, I'm kidding. There's another formula for that. But anyway, we have to find the hash of this block. Now, once you know the hash, you can see we have hash of B1. Once you know the hash, let's do some more transaction. Of course, right? After doing this transaction, of course, we will not be stopping there. Maybe we'll go out to eat vada pav, or maybe to eat pizza. We'll do a transaction there. Maybe you want to buy something online, you will do a transaction. So we have more transactions. For more transactions, we'll be having more blocks. So we got one more block here, which is B2. B2 has more transactions here. Now, the only thing is, in B2 block, we'll have all the transaction, but we'll also have the hash of the previous block. So if you can see, we have the hash of the previous block. Now, what's the advantage? The advantage is you are linking these two blocks, just like linked list, right? So there we save the address. Here we are saving the hash. Okay, so basically we are saving hash of it. Why? We'll talk about that later. But we got hash of B1. And then we'll calculate the hash of B2. But this time, not just transaction, will also include the hash of B1 in that transaction, in that hashing algorithm, and you will get hash of B2. And then list goes on. You got B3. We have more transactions here. And then this is hash of B2, which is stored here. And we got hash of B3. List goes on. We got more blocks. And then list goes on. We got so many blocks, maybe thousands of blocks. And we are storing the block. We are storing the hash. Now, what's the advantage? The advantage here is, what if, okay, you can't see my pen, right? Let me just use a laser. So let's say this is the transaction. Can you see that transaction, everyone, in B2? This is a transaction which says Ravi Teja has sent 200 rupees to Amarjit. Okay, this is a transaction. And now Amarjit want to change it. Amarjit says, hey, let me do a corruption. And remember, the entire block, all the blocks here is stored with everyone on the network. Okay, with everyone. Now the thing is, if Amarjit, you are changing this part here, the problem is the moment you change this B2, it will affect your hash, right? This one, hash of B2. The moment this hash of B2 is getting affected, it will also affect B3. Because in B3, we have hash of B2. Something like this. Let's say we got a new hash. Let's say hash of B2. This is getting affected. It will also affect B3, which will affect B4, which will affect the entire blockchain. And that's where everyone on the network will know Amarjit is a culprit here. This guy is a malicious node. Let's kick it out of the network. Does it make sense, Amarjit? So don't change the blocks. Now, since all these blocks are interdependent, they are building a chain here. So the initial name for this was chain of blocks. But then why to have that passive term when you can have a name called blockchain? So this is blockchain. Does it make sense, everyone? Any questions here till this point? So we have already reached 11 p.m. Anyone, any questions? Of course, we'll take your advance, we'll take your feedback and we'll discuss after some time, but let me finish this PPT. No questions, should I go ahead? Or at least is it making sense? Whoever new to blockchain you're learning Java blockchain for the first time, is it making sense? Okay, there's a question from Praveen. Does all the blocks are from same node? No, I mean, all the blocks here will build one blockchain, right? And every node in the network will have that blockchain. So basically, we are talking in general terms now. We are not being specific to a particular blockchain like Bitcoin or Ethereum because they have different implementation. Okay, but as of now, in general, when you have 10 nodes in the network, every node will have this blockchain. All nodes are sharing data in a block. Yes. So they're using blockchain concept. Anything which you do on the internet will be part of a transaction, and that transaction is a part of a block. So ultimately, that's a blockchain.
Naveen,
yes.
I think I can show one website which Shastri has referred. So let me show that website so that some of the doubts will be cleared for the newcomers, if you can.
Sure.
Okay.
I have stopped sharing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is a website all of you can see, which is blockchaindemo.io, and it contains, as if now, one node and one block. So this particular peer or node is a Satoshi, which contains a data and previous hash, though the font is a little bit of dull, but previous hash you can see as a 0. And this is a hash of a data which is present over here. So I can change any data here as if now, because this is the first block, which is called as a genesis block. So let's say this is first data, kind of that stuff. So if I can change it, then it will change it for others. Right now, as Naveen has already told you that this is immutable. So the moment you try to change this, this hash will be having some new effect. So we don't want to do it. So if I go from the beginning, let's say, so this is a blockchain demo. And if I go here and if I say I'm going to add a new block, this block is added into the same node. So I do have one data here. This is the second data here, let's say, and we will get a next hash here. And this is the previous hash, and this hash matches with this hash actually. So every block will have this particular thing, one data and hash of the previous block and the current hash, let's say. Now, what we can do is we can add one peer. So this is another peer which is created. And if I go to this peer actually, and if you go into the details of this player, you can see that this peer can add again the another block here. So I can add one more block here. Something like that. And then if you go back to other stuffs here, let's say if I go to Satoshi, you will see all the blocks here again. Okay, so this is second data. And if I go to another thing, so this is working kind of weird, but this is the way entirely the blockchain works actually. So this is one of the websites that you can refer to understand blockchain to the introductory levels, how the blocks are connected with each other and how the blocks will be shared as a distributed or how the distributed ledger is shared between the blocks of the different nodes. Over to you, Naveen.
Great. There's one question from Karthik. Group of nodes is called as block connected with a chain. No, group of nodes are not called block. The group of transactions is part of one block. And when you have multiple blocks connected, that's blockchain.
Hello, sir.
And this entire chain will be stored on a node.
I have a doubt.
Yes, Surya.
Where these blocks will be stored on local computer. So if 50 members are there, how many space will be required? Like these blocks will be keep on adding, like 2 years or like that, it will cross 50 GB means where it will be stored. Is
Yes,
there
in
any
fact,
cloud storage or?
Okay, so that's a good question actually. See, the thing is initially the size of blockchain will not be huge. If it is a new blockchain, it will not be huge. But after some time, like if we talk about Bitcoin, it's a huge blockchain. There are millions of blocks, if I'm not sure. I forgot the number, but there's a huge blockchain. And normally you don't store the entire blockchain on a normal computer. You have a special computers for that. So in Bitcoin, we have a concept of nodes. There are full nodes, there are the light nodes. So if you have a full node, then you have to store the entire blockchain. But why you will do that? Why you will waste your storage for a blockchain?
Okay.
Right. Again, we'll talk about that. What's the incentive you will receive to do that? What if, Surya, what if I say I will give you 1,000 rupees per day to store to store the entire blockchain in your machine?
I will happily do it.
Yeah,
that is what miners are doing. But my doubt is like Ethereum, like public blockchains are there.
Yeah.
But how they are storing this much data, transactions will be keep on adding. In everyone's computer, how it will be keep on adding. Millions of transactions will be there. My doubt
That's
is
right. That's right. So we'll talk about it. Once we start with the miners concept, we'll talk about that as well.
okay.
Any other question which we can address now? See, there are some questions. Of course, you can ask any question, but if we have a talk on that later, we'll skip that question just to keep it the flow. Otherwise, Amajit will close the window. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, now so this block structure, how it looks like. So this is how it looks like. So let's go with any block, let's say block N, or we can say the first block. In fact, I have one more question for you here. We have skipped that. So when you say you have the first block, and then you are saying hash of B1. What about the 0 here? Should it be 0 always for the first block? So the answer is, for every blockchain, the first block is created by the network itself, not by any node or not by any transactions. So the first block in any blockchain is called what? Come on, in the chat window, we have a special name for it. What the first block in blockchain is called? Okay, we got some answers in the chat. I don't know why I can't open it. That's right, it's Genesis block. I still can't see the chat. Here I can see the chat now. So the first block is called Genesis block. Awesome. So let's understand the block structure now. So when you say a block will have what? The block will have a version. A block will have a Merkle root. Again, we have not seen the importance of Merkle root yet. And then, okay, what's wrong? Yeah. Then we'll have a nouns. Again, this is used for the miners. What are miners? We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about difficult target later. And then we have list of transactions. So in each block, apart from the list of transactions which we have seen, we have some extra information as well, right? Then we have second block, same thing. But what happens to the empty spaces there? This is where you keep the track of the older hash. The chain is built because of that hash values, right? So I can remove these terms. We have version, we have Merkle root. Then we have difficulty target. We have nouns. We'll talk about that once we talk about Bitcoin mining.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, is there any particular size of one block?
Okay, I'm not sure.
1 MB. 1 MB is the maximum size of a block.
Okay, maximum size, right? Okay.
1 MB.
But there can be blocks which is less than 1 MB, right?
So initial size is 1 MB, but I think now is 8 MB. Maybe I am not confident about that.
Okay, let's Google. Let's Google. But good question. You know, Mandar, we should write these questions for the next batch. This is why we are calling this trial batch. Good questions.
I'm making a note of it.
Yeah. So Shastri says it is 1 MB. Salahuddin says 8 MB. They have increased it. Okay. Possible. But is it specific to Bitcoin you're talking about, right? Not in general blockchain.
Yes.
Different blockchain will have a different size.
Yes. So for Bitcoin, I think 8 MB block size.
Okay.
And for time, मतलब time to time वो increase होता रहेगा, मतलब 16 MB one time के बाद वो हो जाएगा.
Okay. तो ये भी उस पर डिपेंड है जो Bitcoin halves जो होता है, same time पे होता है या फिर?
I think 4 year की gap पे उसका कुछ target वगैरह होता है. Maybe I don't know much about that.
Sure, we'll verify that. Okay. But good questions. You know, this is our assignment for Mandar and me. Every time you ask a question, we'll go home. Of course, we are in our home, but we'll study back and we'll come back to you later with definite answer. Not maybe. Today we are doing maybe, but tomorrow we'll have a definite answer. Okay. Cool. So now we have certain steps. Of course, these steps will make much more sense once we talk about mining. This is what we forgot, Mandar. We forgot to add mining PPT. So we'll discuss that with mining, how everything works. Yeah. So now let's talk about the types of blockchain. In fact, you know, in general, we have talked about it. We have 2 different types of blockchain, but we can have some more types here. We have public blockchain, we have private blockchain. Now, what's the difference between public blockchain and private blockchain is, in public blockchain, whatever data you are storing in a block is visible to everyone in the network who is a part of it, and anyone can be a part of the network. Example, let's say you want to be the part of the network, you can just take your mobile phone or take a laptop, install the Bitcoin software, and you are part of the Bitcoin network. You can see all the transactions. But do you really think if you talk about companies, they want anyone to connect with their network? Of course, big companies, they don't want their solutions to be on public network. They have private network, private blockchain. But again, this will make much more sense once we talk about what is mining and what everything happens. Again, we missed the mining slide in between. But tomorrow we'll start with mining and then we'll add all these things. There's one more thing important here is the address. We forgot to talk about the address. If public blockchain is public, that means anyone can see the data. If I send 100 rupees to Rajesh, anyone in the network can see that, right? Everyone will know Navin has sent 100 rupees to Rajesh. We don't want that. So basically, when you say address, it is not your real name or email address. It's a pseudo address given to you by the Bitcoin network. Okay, so it's not exactly your name. Okay. Let's talk about consensus tomorrow itself. It's already 11:15. We can have a discussion now. So we'll continue from miners and consensus tomorrow. Now we can have a general discussion. So let me stop the sharing. Let me also stop the live.